Lori Winterfeld. I'm the Community Education Director for the Moorhead Area Public Schools. We're delighted to be able to bring you this introduction to some of your neighbors, people who've chosen to move to the Midwest and to live in the Fargo-Moorhead area and make this place their home. They have a message for all of us that I think will be inspiring and enlightening, and I know I learned a lot just listening to them. We're grateful for the Walmart Corporation for giving us a grant to be able to do this project, and hope you enjoy learning about your neighbors.
My name is Ezzat Haider. I'm from Iraq. I have a family of 5 kids and my wife. I worked back in Iraq. I worked as an interpreter with the U.S. Army for 8 years. I was working as a teacher. I was a teacher also, so doing 2 jobs at the same time. Then I was working with, after that I was working with a U.S. Oil company called Weatherford as a part of the ExxonMobil. During all my life, I remember when before joining the U.S. Army, I was from a poor family. So during all my life, I believed in change and believed in leadership and how we have to do steps towards change. So when the U.S. Army came to the situation, I was looking at the situation and saying, this is not the life that I want. Because I was looking at the situation, everyone else were having cars and married and houses, fancy houses, stuff like that, while we were living in 2 bedrooms. During the winter time, those 2 bedrooms were leaking. And so we were suffering a lot, not only me, even all the family, my brothers, my sisters, my mom and my dad. So when that situation came, 2 things motivated me to do that change. The financial part of it and believing in freedom. So those 2 parts, although the family, they tried to close me from that. They told me, you will never go for that because you're going to be killed. I told them, no, this is what I want, that I would like to go for, to change my life. This is not the dreams that I want. So joining the U.S. Army, it was very dangerous. We went through some situations that we were so close to death. And there was many people who we worked with them. I remember one of the interpreters who was working with us with different group. In a point when an IED went off them, the driver and the passengers in the front, both of them got killed. The interpreter, 27 bones from his body got broken. So it was really hard and it was really dangerous. I remember some of the missions that we were doing at nighttime in some places, some of the most dangerous places in Iraq. And we were running from house to house. And so then after that, sometimes you start to think that was really crazy. I mean, I remember one time in Mosul, in the Intisar district, now they are having that fight in Mosul. So in Mosul, a group of terrorists come on the road and they start to shoot at us, face to face. Although I was in the Humvee behind a proofed a shell, but just imagine somebody coming in front of you and direct his weapon and shoot you. So a lot of those things that did not stop me from my dreams. So working with the U.S. Army gave me the chance to be a student in that school, because for me, U.S. Army is a school, and I learned a lot from that school. How to be a principal, how to get principles in my life, how to be educated, how to use technology, how to believe in freedom and human rights. That was a part of it. The second part was financially, it becomes good for me because I started to build a house that could be a kind of a roof for those people, to protect them at least from the winter times. So the life of those people around me got changed also by that decision. So, and later on, after that decision, then it comes to the decision of coming to US. I was in a big situation that was confused whether to come or not, because even back at home, as I mentioned before, believing in leadership and working towards it, even back in Iraq, I was making a change. In a point, I was the executive director of one of the institutes for learning English language as a second language back in north of Iraq. I worked with some programs with the U.S. Embassy back in Iraq. I was working with some social and cultural centers for like a kind of non-profit organization over there, and being a part of some seminars that I already mentioned today to one of my friends in MSUM, that the audience were close to 500, 1,000. So having all that, besides having working two jobs at a time, I was getting like close to $2,000 monthly. So getting $2,000 monthly back in Iraq, I mean, life is really cheap over there. It will cost you like close to $300 to take care of everything else. I mean, a big bag of eggplant will cost you $10, a big plant. While if you try to buy two pieces over here, it will cost you more than $10. So I was in a situation putting the advantage and disadvantages on two separate sheets and looking at the situation. Here I have the money, here I have doing my best, whatever. Then on the other side also, you know, US, when you talk about the US, and that's just the word US and the image of that word, it means a lot. But as disadvantages that were pushing us to come out of that country were greater than the advantages. The disadvantages were we were living in a country that the human rights got lost, that the opportunities for great people were blocked. If you are a smart if you were a smart person over there trying to make a change, then you're going to see a lot of blocks in front of you, because they were looking at you as a kind of threat to their lives, not to their lives, sorry, but to their jobs and to the opportunities that they were getting for their personal businesses. Also, the terrorist part of it was really hard for me and my family to stay back in Iraq, because I was working with the U.S. Army for 8 years. And like today, what we are doing, interviewing face-to-face, I was a part of a triangle of interviewing or investigations with the detainees. And some of them, not like you could say most of them, they were terrorists. And some of them, they got released after that by corruptions and stuffs like that. So that's why our life always was in danger. That we were thinking about this, like especially when in a point when the U.S. Army decided to come out of Iraq, that which was a kind, with my respect, but a kind of such a nonsense decision, because U.S. was supposed to stay in Iraq. We were doing something great at that time. As I remember at the beginning, for 2-3 months, the situation changed in Iraq. Everything was quiet. There was nothing going on. But then after that, step by step, be changed. At the beginning, when we as U.S. Army, like I was a part of the U.S., so that's what I'm saying. So we as U.S. Army, and with the cooperation with the Iraqi Army, we were doing something great. The U.S. was taking care of the financial issues. The U.S. was taking care of the logistics and those stuffs. So everything was moving in the right way. But the moment we transferred it to the Iraqi Army, the corruption part of it comes to then the situation became worse. So that's why thinking of all these things becomes really hard when the U.S. come out of the situation for my family to stay in Iraq. So that's why we applied for our papers and tried to make everything to be ready, so to come out of Iraq before to be killed or to be kidnapped, or one of my kids to be kidnapped. And there's another part of it also. We as minorities back in Iraq, I'm from a Yazidi background. If you guys heard about the Yazidis, the people who got attacked by ISIS back in August 3rd, 2040. Till today, we have 3,400 Yazidi females in ISIS captivity. They use them as a sex slave. So because of this also, as minorities, it becomes a kind that there was no space for us to stay in Iraq. So having all these advantages, we decided to come out of Iraq. So that's why on May 5th, 2040, we, for the first time on our life, we ride in an aeroplane and come out of Iraq. When Arbil, it's 3 hours away from our place, and it was the first time to have a flight, and first time also to have official papers to go through the UN, to go through the refugees organization, stuff like that. So they were calling us ahead of time. You guys have to be here 2-3 times ahead of time in order for the process to be okay and stuff like that. So we went close to 6 hours ahead of time. We went over there, and we stayed in the airport also for 4 hours before the flight started. So when we went, when we were in the airplane from Arbil to Jordan, it was something really scary for us because we never had been in airplane. So we were just so quiet. When we reached to Jordan, Queen Alia's airport, it was a kind it was coming down, that anxiety that we had about the airplane. But still we felt that we were in a place that we don't know anything about it. So then the hardest part of it started. We were in Jordan at 5:45 in the morning. Then we stayed till 10:30. Then after 10:30, our flight from Jordan to Chicago started. We didn't know. We didn't thought about the time change and how time is changed and stuff like that. So looking at hours, I told my wife, it will take 6 hours. Then it was going and going and going. Then 6 hours passed and it was really hard for first time in your life to have a flight, and that flight to be for 13 hours. The moment we came to US, we came to Chicago and be in that airport, something really new in our life. We never had been in such a big airport like Chicago. So we were dizzy. We didn't know what was going on. People helped us with that. They were the people from the IOM, they were doing a really good job, because the moment you come to the airport, they were taking care of the details and where to take you, where is your bags and stuff like that. So then that was 13 hours. Then we stayed over there for 2-3 hours. And I remember that time weather was not it was close to winter time. So it got postponed 1-2 hours. And the idea of moving from one gate to another, we never had been in an airport in our life. And they were taking us to a spot. They said, this is the gate that you guys will go. Then after 20-30 minutes with the language that I was speaking, that try to communicate, they were telling us, no, it's already got moved. You guys need to go to a door. I don't know what's that. So we didn't know about it. So it was really hard for us. Besides, we had 4 small kids with us. And we have our bags, and was only me and my wife. And so it was really hard. Then after that, after 2-3 hours, the trip, the flight from Chicago to Minneapolis started. So the moment we arrived in Minneapolis, I remember still we are friends. There's some people over there. They took us to their home. They prepared an Iraqi dish for us. So the moment we went to inside their home, they said, this is food we made it from you guys. We told them, we don't want food. We just want to get some sleep, because we were dizzy and we didn't know what was going on. So And yeah. For me and my direct family, me, my wife, my kids, we came on May 12, 2014. That was 2 months ahead of the genocide. Actually, 2 months and some days ahead of the genocide that happened to my people. So after we came to 2 months, 3 months over here in Fargo Moorhead, the genocide happened against my people. So my mom, my brothers, and my nephews, nieces, they were in a point, they were living in the mountain. They ran away from their place. They were under a big psychological stress. They didn't know what was going on with them. That's only my family. So then imagine, like I'm talking about the whole community. So, and they were in the process also. And later, 1 year after we came, they joined us. So the point, in the point when we went to the Hector International Airport, receiving my mom, she didn't know what was going on there. I mean, it was too much for her, too much for her, because she's old in age. This year she turned to 88 years old. It's really hard for her today, because just imagine like a person with 88 years old being in a new country, away from her people, away from her traditions, away from her memories, away, like sometimes even, I mentioned this this quote from her, like she told me one time that if she passed away, she told me to take me back to my village, to take me to the cemetery, the family cemetery, and bury me close to my husband. So that's why, like, even sometimes make me to cry for it, said what's going on, why we are taking the simplest rights for these poor people. But you know, it's wild. I mean, back home, I was, till we finished our schools, it was like at the beginning, like it was Arabic was the main language. Then after that was coming English and other like English and Kurdish. But after like 1991, it becomes Kurdish as a first language, then English the second language. From the school, and as I mentioned also, we got some from the school, but the big part of it was working with the U.S. Army. But even after, and we are learning daily. So even I remember when for the fall semester of 2014, I went to MSUM. Sometimes the teachers or the students were sharing a joke or saying a joke. Everybody will start to laugh at it, or, I was sometimes pretending to laugh about it, but I did not get any clue about what they were talking about. But thanks for God. I mean, today I'm kind of having a discussions and talking, and so yeah. Even over here, the life is about learning. So daily we are learning new stuff in our life. Actually, we came to Minneapolis for 2 weeks. We were in Minneapolis, and in 2 weeks we were looking for like an apartment. At the beginning we don't have the rights, to get apartment, because we did not have Social Security and those stuffs. So that's why those people were looking for an apartment for us, and it was really expensive over there. And I had some friends over here. They were talking about the hair, and they said it's a kind better than Minneapolis, and it's quiet, and it's good for families, when you have kids, and it's a safe area, opportunities for jobs and stuff like that. And besides, when the first thing we thought about it, and as I was writing it in my papers to the embassy, to the U.S. embassies, and to the channels of coming to U.S., the first thing was our dream was education. So being in Minneapolis may took that opportunity from us. So being in Fargo Moorhead, in a small area, could add that opportunity to our life. So that was a part of the decision. So because of having all what I mentioned, that pushed us to come, I decided to come to Fargo-Moorhead area. I have a son at Head Start. My daughter, she is in kindergarten, Probstville. My son is first year Renaston School. Yeah, that's it. And the others are still baby.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't go to school. You know, it's when a person born somewhere, that image will stay. I mean, even sometimes the family members from the family will think about it, or will try to do something that could be reflecting something positively to their communities back in Iraq. But still, yes, we feel like Fargo-Moorhead is our community. I'm trying to do my best, not only me, we all, my family, we're trying to do our best in order to be active members in this community, to learn from the community, to add to the community. And we are learning a lot. I mean, especially through our education in the colleges, and how like life is about theories, like about how to communicate with others, how to be sociable, how to apply skills and stuff like that to the kind of interviews and getting jobs and stuff like that. So all these things were new to us till the point that we come to US. But being a student and being between the community, we start to think like that. The community is trying to do their best in order to be professional. Some retired officers at the end of like the last couple of years, I was working with the DynCorp and MPRI. Those are two security companies, U.S. security companies. So I have Kevin Hopkins, who we contact sometimes, especially when some situation happened in Iraq. We contact and try to talk about it. Sometimes when we try to say how those people are doing and stuff like that. I remember a story that we shared, me and him. There was like some Yazidi villages in the area. The Yazidi community is a poor community. So small kids will go over there and try to take some watermelons over there. They were like the age of 5, 6. Put those watermelons in front of them and try to sell them in order to get some money. They were helping their families to get some money. And me and Kevin, we will always, like we were, while going to the training the Iraqi police and army, while we were driving through, we would stop over there and we would try to buy those piles of watermelons from them just to pay them $20. And even sometimes refusing to take their products. I remember one time, like a small girl, she refused it to. She said, "No, I'm not taking unless you guys want to take my products." So that image stays like even from that time. Yeah, I have still I have contacts with some of them, like Kevin. I said Ed Weibel, he's from Alaska, and some others like. Some other, even like one of them got retired last year from the army. We are in a point, we have a big Yazidi community living in Lincoln, Nebraska. We are in a point today that not like all the family, my family, my brothers, my mom, we are discussing and trying to take a decision whether to stay here or to move to Lincoln, Nebraska. And we have a lot of things like good and things over here. As you said, like one of the disadvantages of staying over here, the snow that we are, till today we are having snow. So that's a part that, although back in Iraq, the area that we come from was not a kind of a hot weather over there. It was a kind like the weather over there is like Tennessee, Nashville, So the weather is like that. Everything is nice and smiling for us over here. Everything is moving smoothly. We have our jobs. We are students. We are participating in the community. We are doing our best. But still we are missing the part, the social part of our life, which is like being between our people, letting our like, and it's a kind of, even if you go to the sociology, we'll talk about this, how to be a member in your group and be between in your group for our kids and for our young, for my like young nephews and nieces to be between their community. So that's why we need a point to decide whether to stay here or to go to. But other than that, we really like that. We really like the life in Fargo-Moorhead area. I will reflect it in this way, like the beauty of Fargo-Moorhead is the colors that we have in Fargo-Moorhead. I was working as a coordinator for Metro and Teptor, and today Fargo-Moorhead is like a small world. Like the other big cities in US. I was like receiving like calls for different languages, like the Nepali, the Chinese, Mandarin, Arabic, Kurdish, Spanish, Bosnian. In a moment of like making 1 or 2 calls, I would make that interpreter to be ready for that situation. So it was really beautiful. I mean, and I remember again that one time when I went to the Clay County, there was a friend. Now we are friends. At that time, when we first came to US, we applied to kind of like a cash and food stamps to try to go with it in order to fix everything for our life. So, in a point, one of the employers over there told me, said, Ezzat, we were friends. Said, what do they tell you guys when the new Americans come over there? Do they say that America is made from gold and everything is gold and stuff? I told her, I don't want to mention the name. I said, you know what? We have goals in life, and we are looking for achieving our goals in life. Coming over here is opening that door of opportunity for us to achieve our goals in life. Over here, we feel equal to others. Over here, we feel the freedom of like, no matter if you are Yazidi, if you are Christian, if you are Muslim, if you are from any ethnicity of any group or any religions, still you are human. And you have the opportunity to be, even like my smallest son is 11 months. We were having like a kind of discussion with me like a family, especially me and my wife. He's talking about it and said, what's beautiful about US is my son in one day could be the president. So we learned how to, even back at home in Iraq, we had a kind of a dream that was similar to the US dream. But they were preventing from us, and even to a point that they were making us even not to know what we were looking for. So being over here, we are not coming over here to ruin the community, or we are not over here to force our beliefs or whatever. We are over here, okay, we trying to assimilate to our traditions and cultures, but we are accommodating to the new life also, and try to do our best in order to have a good communication and good coordination and cooperation for building the new home.